Well, today we have yet another Hantarex Polo. We've gone a couple of years without any polos, and then all of a sudden I get 6 of them in a row or something like that. So I was contacted by somebody who picked one of these up off eBay. They have a Ms. Pac-Man Gallagher 20th anniversary cabinet, and somebody had put a Hantarex Polo in there, the tube anyway, but the chassis was missing. So they went hunting for one on eBay and found this one, and it's not in that great a shape. So they asked if I could take a look at it and see if I could get it going, because I have some parts chassis and stuff. So I said, sure, I'll give it a try. So I'm really just making this video to document the process of trying to get this back to life for this individual. And I've gone through and checked this out, and I've done a detailed analysis of all the parts that are missing from what I can tell just from observing and taking 5-10 minutes and going through and comparing to another working one that is complete. And so far I've noticed that the linearity coil is missing. I have my parts chassis here we're going to rob all the parts from, but you can see the linearity coil is there on that one. The linearity coil is missing. The HOT is missing. T119 down here is missing. R255 is missing. D142 is missing. The MOSFET is missing for the power supply. The switch mode power supply chip is missing for the power supply. C121 is ripped off the board, and R227 is missing over here. So we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 components that are missing from this chassis. And it's not going to be any problem to try and replace these parts, because I have, I've got the FJL 6920 HOTs I use for all these. Plus I have a donor chassis here that I have all the parts for that I can rob. Obviously the caps, the C121 and the C121 will be part of the cap kit. That's no problem. But the resistor over here I've got, and the linearity coil I've got, and the MOSFET and the switch mode power supply chip, I've got some of those, but we'll just rob this one because I'm sure it's fine and we'll use it and test it anyway. T119, D142, I've got some R255s in stock. I can change those out. And things like that. R255, yeah. So I've got all the parts we need, so that won't be a problem. The only issue is that in the future, if I get one of these without a linearity coil or something, I've got 2 other chassis that have them, but they're damaged. So I'll use the nice good one for this person since they're asking for my assistance. But also, I glossed over it, but the remote board's missing. This did not come with a remote board or a remote board harness, and I don't have a spare extra one that I can give to this person or sell to this person. As a matter of fact, I'm missing one myself. I recently repaired 5 of these. I think 4 of them I featured on the channel. One of them I didn't feature on the channel that I've repaired off camera. So I actually have 5 of these myself. And one of them did not come with the remote board like this one did. Which I also bought on eBay, so I got that one fixed up off camera. But so I have 5 of these and only 4 remote boards and harnesses for the 5 that I have. So even I'm missing one. So I don't have an extra spare one that I can give to this person. But what I can do is use one of those. Once we get this up and running and fixed and working, once we get it ready for testing to see if it works, I can plug in one of my extra units from my chassis and see if it works and get this running to where it's 100%. And then I'll take my unit back, and then once they are able to find one, once this person is able to find one, they should be able to plug it in and be good. So they won't have one when I send it back, but this will be ready and working in a condition where once they find one, they can plug it in and be good. So yeah, and the neck board is complete. It's a little dirty and dusty, which I can clean up no problem, but otherwise it's complete. So, and of course it's missing all the pegs, which I've got some of those. So what I'm going to do is cut away. I'm going to remove all the components from this parts chassis that I just detailed and swap them over to this one, and then we'll come back and take a look. Now there is one thing I do want to mention is did not come with the cages, and somebody was rather violent on taking the cage out, and they completely destroyed this right here. But that's not really a problem because you can actually scrape the trace away and solder that back together. But I didn't see any really bad anomalies like a giant crack, or there is a scrape here. There's a scrape right here that I'm not sure if that's a crack. I'll test it, or we'll test it on camera and see what's going on. But other than that, I didn't see any real damage. There's not any broken traces around the heatsink here, which is common. But I think I had 2 of them in a row. But otherwise, I don't really see any other major issues. So obviously something on this chassis went bad, and whoever owned it started using it as a parts chassis. Now, I don't know why, because it's not damaged or broken or destroyed. Like, I don't know if they developed a power supply problem and they decided, well, I don't want to deal with trying to fix it, so they just started robbing parts from it. I don't know the history. But it's odd that with a complete, well, partially complete, I should say, with a chassis here that's not destroyed or damaged or broken or otherwise unrepairable, I'm not sure why they would just start using it as a parts chassis unless they didn't want to go through the hassle of trying to repair it, or didn't have any knowledge of how to repair it, or didn't want to. I don't know. I just find it quite interesting. So I'm going to cut away and rob all the parts off of this one, get them put back on this one, and I'll probably do the cap kit and the reflow and more inspections. So when I come back, we'll be at a point to where we should be able and ready to test it. But before we do, we'll go over some things, and I'll show all the new parts installed, and we'll do our light bulb test, make sure it works and stuff. So I'll get all that work done. We'll come back and be in a situation where we'll do our light bulb test, and if that works, then we'll go ahead and put it on the tube and see what it does. So let me get that done. I'll come right back, and we'll see from that point. Well, here you go, all fully rebuilt. All the missing parts have been reinstalled from the donor chassis, full cap kit, full reflow, all the neck board rework, everything is now done. And as I say this, I realize I forgot to mark these caps on the neck board. I got the other ones, but I forgot to do these 10 microfarad ones. Okay. So, yep. Let's go over this. So, the parts that I had to replace again were, I got the linearity coil installed, I got the HOT along with the new insulator and another replacement clip installed. I got T119 installed, D142, R255. The switch mode power supply chip, I put it in a socket so it can be replaced in the future if it needs to be. C121 obviously from the cap kit, and R227 over here on the side. So all the missing parts are accounted for, and it turns out that this was a crack here. I talked about this looked like a crack, and sure enough it was cracked there and across there, so I got that repair done. That was the only crack except for a little tiny one right here, which I went ahead and put the solder blob on there, scraped it off with the scratch pin. So that's repaired, this is repaired. Those are the only issues I found. Everything else is done, reflow and cleanup and power supply and all the normal stuff that gets done to this is now done. So yeah, the missing components replaced, full cap kit, the reflow. I got all of the replacement poly caps installed. The two in here, over here, this one, that one up there, all the horizontal output ones that I normally do, and I'll link all that stuff down below in the description so you can get some of those for yourself if you need to replace those. And everything is now pretty much done. Yeah, so we are ready for a power supply test, and I have preemptively removed the leg there of TP6 so we can connect to that. And I also have a remote board here that I robbed from one of my working Polos that we can plug into here. And I'll put this back on my working Polo when we get this working and done. And like I say, the owner of this will have to find one for himself, and hell, I even need to find one somewhere for the fifth oddball one that I've got. So we are ready for the light bulb test. If the power supply is functional and operates, then we're ready to kind of pretty much just put this on a tube and try it. And unless the flyback is faulty, everything should work. But before we do the power supply test, let's go through and test some of these normal everyday parts you want to verify are good on any Polo you work on. So over here on the side is R240. And it's right inside here. That little guy right there, that should be 180K. That's one of the ones you want to check for your brightness circuit. And we get 178K, close enough, so that one's okay. This resistor here, the one we put in there, R227, should be about 4.7 ohms, and we get 4.8. R219 here should be about 2.2K. Usually they're around 2.1 though. Yeah, 2.18, so 2.2, so that's fine. R232 is this guy in here. This one right there, and that should be 2.2K. Yep, 2.2K. It likes to burn up when the flyback goes out, so that should give us a sign the flyback should be okay. R233 is this one right in here, and that should be 230K. That's also part of your brightness circuit. 221, so yeah, 221K, good enough. Then you have R267, should be about 3 ohms here. 2.5, that's part of your vertical deflection circuit for collapse. If this resistor is open, you'll have collapse. So it's a little low, 2.5. I'd like to see it closer to 3, but 2.5 is 2.6. That's okay. R277 is this guy up here in front of the linearity pot right there. That should be 1.1. Yep, that's good. So if either one of those two resistors are open, you're going to have vertical collapse, so that should be okay. We got our T119 installed and our D142. And then R255, we're looking for about 150 ohms. That's the one that we were missing that I installed. So 150 ohms, okay, so that's all good. And then also up here on the neck board, R40 here, right there, should be about 10 ohms. If that is open or out of tolerance, you'll have nothing but just a white screen. So, hey, we got 10.2 ohms. So that's about all of the normal stuff I'd recommend testing prior to at least doing the power supply test. I got the new HOT installed, so we can go ahead and test that just to make sure it's good. 0.43 and 0.43, so that's fine. Again, negative lead on the middle and red lead on diode mode to each outer leg. 0.4 and 0.4, yeah, so that's fine. And yeah, everything on here is looking good. We should be ready. And part of the reflow, again, all the power supply, pretty much every single solder joint on the entire power supply, your transformer here, and all the heat area over here with the large resistors and stuff. And you want to hit your AC input header pins and your video input header pins and your remote board pins and all the normal stuff, flyback pins and things. I'm assuming this flyback's okay. I'm not sure why this would have got... I do want to say that this was cracked. I was correct. This was a crack. It did have continuity, but it was in fact cracked. So it probably would have worked if I hadn't have fixed the cracks, but it was cracked. So they got those done. But yeah, what I was saying was I'm not sure why this would have been issued as a parts chassis or not issued, but deemed a parts chassis. So we're about to find out. Let's do, oh, and I did fix this destroyed part here with the cage that came out. I did get all that fixed there, so that's good. Now, okay, enough jibber jabber. Let's finally get this power supply test done. And I did get new pegs installed for the missing ones, and I used this contact cleaner to spray pressurized cleaner down inside the legs here. So you have to get it inside the pot. So right inside of here, I would spray this pressurized right inside there to get it inside the internal workings of the pot. And on these, you got to do it from the back side. But just spraying the pot itself doesn't do anything. You have to get the cleaner inside the pot. So that's how I do that. But okay, now we'll zoom out here. Let's grab our 60 watt incandescent bulb, and I've discovered it's about 4 volts difference. So if I want this to end up being about 138, B plus on these about 138. I have to adjust the pot to about 142-ish, if I recall correctly. So we'll find out if that's accurate. Because this, actually, no, this is less of a load. So it's lower under, yeah, about 142-ish is what I want that to be at. Yeah, and we'll see if that's a correct statement or not, if this works. So we will attach that to there, attach this to another ground, doesn't matter where, ground, positive, volts DC, make sure we're not touching the frame. Okay, that's all good. Let's get power hooked up. And I've also talked about before, I take some tweezers here from my iFixit kit, and I go down in here and I squeeze these pins, these sockets I should say, I squeeze the sockets a bit closer together, because a lot of times there'll be a bad connection on this AC input because people plug the connector on and off over the years and they spread the sockets out. So you want to kind of close them a bit to get a better connection on your power input. So Got that done. That secures nice and good in there. So here we go. One, two, three. There we go. And I did think I forgot to mention I got the MOSFET installed too. Obviously, if there was no MOSFET, this wouldn't work. So first time testing this, and it works. And we got 131. So we are wanting to do, like, what did I say, 142-ish? Should be about 138 under the more load of the tube. So let's go to 138. So that right there is what you'd normally want your Polo to run at, 138. But we want to go to about 142. There we go. So now when I have an actual picture tube hooked up, it should dip down to about 138. Okay, functional power supply. All right, and having the light bulb on here immediately discharges everything, so it's safe to handle. And yeah, I guess now that everything is, the power supply is tested, known good, all the rework is done. I've done the inspection, checked for cracks, the reflow, the cap kit, all the testing of components. It should be ready to put on a tube right now and turn on and try it. So I think we'll plug this in. There we go. And we now have a hypothetical functional Polo, easy for me to say. Let's get a tube and turn it on and try it and see what happens. All right, so we're all hooked up. We got our anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, video remote, and obviously by remote I mean the board is connected directly to the chassis, just like we just saw. TPG is connected, so we'll turn it on. We're ready to read our B+. We're on our TP6. I did get that soldered back in, obviously. So here we go. What's going to happen? Adjust that. Oh, I may need to replace that pot. That pot is super flimsy. We'll find out. Either way, okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nope. Bad flyback. Oh, darn it. So you hear that. Listen to this. I'll turn it back on. 1, 2, 3. Listen. That is, I've learned over the last 5 or so of these I've worked on, a couple of them had this issue. I have learned that that is a classic sound of a flyback problem. So we're going to have to replace this flyback. I think I've got one down here. Is it an original or is this a new one? Yep, that's a replacement. So I think that's the only one I have left. So, all right, well, we'll swap it out and see what we get. Okay, so old flyback is out. Replacement flyback is in. We are set up to read our B+ again and TPG, and everything's ready to go. We're all hooked back up. And I did discover that adjustment pot for the red had a little broken tab there, so I soldered it back to the existing tab, and now it's nice and secure. Very common by these. See, that's nice and secure now. So very common with these two over here to get that tab broken off. I didn't notice it before, but that was the issue with that. So we are ready to read B+, hooked up and ready to go. So take number 2 with the replacement flyback. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yep, there you go. TPG wasn't on, and it wasn't 45. So, okay, I go the wrong. So remind me next time that I have to go the other way down. And oh, hang on. I'm plugged in the wrong one here. Oh, that shocked me a little bit. Okay. H position likely needs adjusted, and I don't remember which one of these H shift is. I think it's... I'll worry about that shortly. Let's turn our B+ down. So what I was saying was I need to go, instead of going up to 142, I need to go down to like 134.
because I ended up going the wrong way. So we'll go in here and adjust this B plus pot. And 138 is what we want. 137, 138. On the nosy, okay. And we're looking like this, so we should be able to simply adjust our H position or H shift. I think it's this one? No, that's H hold. Oh, I lost my hold. There it is. Vertical hold, vertical size, H shift. Well, something's not right there. I'm adjusting H shift, and something is not right there. What in the world? Yeah, you can see here that it's... Where is H hold? That's H size. I'm just adjusting... That's vertical hold, vertical size, H shift, H size, vertical. Hang on. We're going to turn this off for a second. And yeah, H frequency is this one. That's what I'm interested in, is the H frequency. This one here. So let's get this back on here. All right, we don't need B plus anymore, so let's disconnect this and get it out of the way. So turn it back on. And I'm going to see if I can move the H hold to shift this over. Yes, there we go. That was it, H hold. Okay, so we'll put H hold there. Jackpot. Okay, let's get the camera on the tripod and make some adjustments. And we have brought this back to life. All right, like I say, the owner's going to have to find himself a remote board, and I'm going to steal this back for mine. But yeah, let's get the camera on the tripod and make some adjustments and see how good we can make this look. Okay, now I'm not going to be able to turn off that overhead light, but this should be okay. So we need to adjust focus slightly, roughly there. Okay, H size. That's vertical size. We'll go roughly, that seems good there. Let's make sure the shift works. Yep, vertical shift is functional. We'll put it right there. H size, roughly there. I need to shift it back over a bit. That's vertical size, you numbskull. H shift is this one. And the size again, right there. Okay, that's pretty good. Color bars. Fantastic. Beautiful RGB. Crosshatch, any linearity? Yep, we got linearity up at the top. Linearity issues, I should say. So we need to adjust that linearity pot. Roughly, I'll say right about there. Not perfect, but it's equal on top and bottom. Now we can readjust our vertical shift down a bit. Oh, that pot's dirty. Yeah, I'll have to clean that pot, but that's this remote board and not necessarily the chassis. Close enough. Okay, now do I want to try an actual PCB? Yeah, let's try an actual board. We'll grab our trusty Mortal Kombat 2. We'll plug that in. We'll swap our video over. And there we go. H shift. was this one. So now for setting this up, I'm going to go into the menu here. We're going to go to crosshatch pattern. And for setting this up, we want to shift this down a bit. Right there. Vertical size. Whoa, these pots are scratchy. That's pretty good. We want the red to be right on the cusp of the edge, and that's good for width. Hey, we're set up already. All right, but linearity, we'll have to fix that a little bit again here. I'll say roughly, that's good, okay. Now we'll escape out of here. All right, now brightness. Don't have much for brightness control. That's better, a little bit. Yeah, I'll have to adjust some colors here. Looking good. How about that? Yeah, let's turn the light off. Turn the light off, help a little bit. And too green, too blue. There's a fine tuning, but it doesn't really matter ultimately because it's not staying on this tube, and it's just, I say that every time, you know how it goes, but regardless, that looks pretty good. I have to say, yeah, I would go with that for sure. What do you think? I have to say, thumbs up. So, another successful Hantarex Polo revival. It looks like the only thing that was wrong with this was a couple of small cracks, some missing parts, and a bad flyback. The only actual faulty component, I think, was this thing. Other than the ones that were removed for, you know, robbing for something else. I'm gonna take this and throw it in the garbage. There it goes, and another Polo revival. So something a little bit quick and easy compared to the other ones I've worked on. So turns out it's all right. So I'm gonna let this run for a little bit. I'll get back with the owner and let him know that it's now successfully fixed, and we'll see what he has to say. And otherwise, thank you very much. Hopefully you learned something. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below, and we'll see you on the next repair.